Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk about Tier 2 Luna Snow, in particular against the World Boss Ultimate stages. Now, I just Tier 2 Luna Snow tonight on the live stream, and I was playing around with her. I managed to get her to rank 205, which is pretty impressive. I still have the CTP of Destruction on her, so she is very well geared. I haven't been able to upgrade her ISO 8 set, so that's probably where she could gain the most in terms of her combat power and her overall damage, having the proc of up to 40% increase all attack instead of just 22, so I could basically double that bonus when it all is said and done. But I'm pretty happy with her otherwise. I have mostly attack stat Uru in terms of crit rate and energy attack, and I threw in some HP in there as well just to give her a little bit more of an extra pop on the heel when she does take damage. My stats are as follows: 50% crit rate, 200% crit damage capped on ignore defense, pretty much capped on reduced cooldown, and then the 30% cold damage and 3% ignore dodge from my cards. But she's an absolute monster. She is a brilliant being of absolute insane damage. I don't have words to describe to you what she can do, but basically she's part Doctor Strange, part Sharon Rogers, part Jean Grey, all rolled into one, and I think it's pretty well emphasized and displayed by her World Boss Ultimate showing. I've seen and I've heard that she doesn't seem to be very consistent for PvP situations in Alliance Tournament, for example, Alliance Conquest, but at least in PvE content she runs through it even better than Sharon Rogers ever could, and there are very few characters in this game that can actually do all of the World Boss Ultimate stages, at least for stage 1. There's definitely characters that can do up to stage 4 or 5 for specific days, but very few who can do all of the days. I think Jean Grey is the only one who can actually consistently do every single day. Doctor Strange and a couple of few others do come close, but it's really rare to find a character, especially a native tier 1 character. I think Luna Snow may be the only tier 1 native that can do Proxima, Black Dwarf, Corvus, Supergiant, Ebony, and Thanos. So I want to take you through all of my clears, explain what I'm doing so you can get some ideas if you want to use Luna Snow in World Boss Ultimate, so you can understand the game mode a little bit better if you're having trouble, and so you can also witness the raw power of some of these clips. So in the case of Proxima, you just need to give the character that you're fighting a lot of ignore dodge, because for whatever reason Proxima has a lot of dodge or guaranteed dodge. So I went with the 2099 lead. I also gave 2 ignore dodge strikers, so she's got 90% ignore dodge. Another way you could do this would be to give her a CTP of energy instead of a CTP of destruction, but I opted for the one that I have. I like the guard break and I like the pierce, but it's a pretty quick fight, just over a minute, and she does respectable damage despite the fact that Proxima has a lot of energy defense. She actually clears it faster than Doctor Strange does, which is pretty strange. For the case of Black Dwarf, he's one of the easiest World Boss Ultimates. Just blast him with damage. I usually clock in at about 15 seconds. This clear took me a little bit longer at 30 or at 20 seconds, but it's super easy, and usually he doesn't even get to his second phase tactics where he gets that shield. Corvus, like Proxima, is pretty simple. You just have to give a lot of ignore dodge. So again, I went with the ignore dodge leadership as well as the ignore dodge strikers to get up to 90%, which I think is about right. It seems as though she doesn't need that much ignore dodge, so you could probably skip and go for an offensive leadership if you wanted, but I cleared it pretty comfortably. Not a challenge at all. The 4th skill trivializes things, the 5th skill trivializes things, and her damage is just off the charts. Supergiant, on the other hand, was the hardest one by far. I didn't actually get it to go with Luna on the first try, spoiler alert, but I would have gotten it if I didn't die. But the problem was the fear and the fact that I didn't have Wasp, because I was trying to crank out the most damage with Coulson, and that's why he's there. But most characters in the game will struggle mightily against Supergiant World Boss because of the tag non-summoned damage gets an 80% reduction. So even with an 80% reduction in Luna Snow's damage, she's still able to crank out numbers comparable to Jean Grey to clear this world boss in just about 2.5 minutes, which is wild. Of course, someone like Loki can do it a lot faster, but that's because they're using summons, so they're playing by the rules. But Luna Snow doesn't even have to play by the rules of World Boss Ultimate. She breaks them, and she still manages to get it done. Ebony Maw is by far the one that she's suited to the most, because he takes more damage from elemental attacks, so she has an advantage there. And you can basically clear this one in like Black Dwarf speed, 15 to 20 seconds. She's basically made for this mode specifically, a la Jean Grey, a la Dormammu, and a few others. Thanos Infinity was also pretty straightforward, just rotate through her skills. I find that the safest rotation for the PvE content is something like 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. If 4 hits, you've got an additional 5 seconds of immunity, basically, because the world boss or the boss cannot hit you because they're being enchanted or enticed. So you essentially have 5 seconds on the immunity and then 5 seconds on the entice, which gives you 10 seconds of total protection from the enemy. The only danger is if they dodge the 4th skill, or you miss, or they iframe or something, then she can get hit and she can die, and Infinity Thanos can definitely one-shot you. I got one-shotted a couple times before I managed to get it done, but you can see I get it done in a hurry because her damage is just off the charts. And I don't even know how much higher her damage can go, but I'm pretty sure if she had a more specific obelisk, like a 200% damage proc with double cold damage or something like that, she could probably push out even bigger numbers. The penetration is really nice for very specific situations, and particularly for PvP. But if you just want it to be a PvE machine, there are no enemies that give you that make themselves immune or invincible. So you could go with something like a 200% damage proc plus ignore dodge and cold damage, or cold damage 200%, and she could go even faster. Believe it or not, Luna Snow has another gear. So I find it just amazing that a character that's native tier 1 can not only keep up with the damage output of native tier 2 characters and even the holy grail of native tier 2s, Jean Grey, but she also has the flexibility in her kit and the fact that cold damage doesn't have the same kind of defenses, or it doesn't have the same kind of negative modifiers from enemy defenses and enemy stages, to the point where she can actually clear all of the hardest content, technically the hardest PvE content in World Boss Ultimate, through every single day, a la Jean Grey. So she's basically a mini Jean Grey at this point, minus the revive, and it's going to be pretty bananas to see where she goes next, if she gets a uniform or if there's a new game mode that somehow doesn't lock her out, like if there was a speed female specific day or kind of target for her. She's going to dominate the game even more. If you want to see more action from her, I'm going to be using her in Shadowland in the upcoming days on the live stream. I've been slowly gearing up for another speed run, and I'm about ready to get it started. I just need to find a place for Luna Snow. So I actually want to crowdsource some information from you guys. What's the highest stage that you've used Luna Snow in that you cleared in under 20 seconds? So it's a pretty specific question, but if you have an answer for me and you have a specific team that you used and a specific enemy team that you came up against, let me know in the comments below. I would love to know your information. I'm probably going to use her around stage, I think, 19 to 23. Just try to squeeze her in there. I think that's kind of optimal for her, because I just want her to be able to sweep through all of the enemies as fast as possible for the speed run that I'm going to be doing on Thursday. Lastly, I wanted to show you guys a clip of Apocalypse to show you just how much she blitzes through enemies with just a pretty simple team up with Misty Knight and Coulson. It's pretty crazy how much damage she puts out, and this is with my suboptimal skill rotation. My skill rotation is more prioritized on keeping Luna Snow safe, but if you went with a more offensive skill rotation that's used for something like Extreme Alliance Battle and you timed the proc on the right skills, you could probably get this done in less than 10 seconds, which is nearing the damage output of characters like Anti-Man, Nova, and other really high damage burst DPS characters. The other last thing that I wanted to mention about Luna Snow is actually a coincidental effect, a side effect of the Luna Snow effect, and that is Misty Knight. I think a lot of people have to be honest with themselves and say that they weren't really thinking about or wanting to rank up and master Misty Knight until Luna Snow came around. But now that we have her, Misty Knight serves a much more respected function in the game, and I know that when she came out, a lot of people were excited. Increased cold damage by 60%. That's going to be so good for Loki. Turns out it's not that good for Loki because the clones don't deal cold damage in the first place. And it also wasn't that good, or isn't that good, for Misty Knight because she only has 2 skills that deal cold damage. But we finally have a use for her amazing leadership, Frostbite. And I find it really interesting. And I actually do enjoy this part of Marvel Future Fight when they revitalize a character kind of by proxy to another newer character, and kind of call back or connect us back to old characters. You know, if they had a more robust team up system, if they had a different kind of striking system where characters would jump in mid fight more frequently, and if that damage was more integral to winning than strikers or just base damage from the 3 heroes, then who knows, maybe they could revitalize old characters like Hawkeye or some of the underused characters to come in as strikers. And so that opportunity is always there for Netmarble. Whether they tap into it or not is really up to them and the devs, but I do appreciate and wanted to highlight the fact that Misty Knight suddenly has more of a place now, especially if you want Luna Snow to put out crazy damage numbers with that plus 60 cold damage stacked on top of her 30% from tier 2, stacked on top of whatever you have from her obelisk. So let me know what you guys think of tier 2 Luna Snow. If you're still not getting lucky with the event battle, hold on. I got about 5 bios yesterday after getting none for several days, so I'm sending my luck to you now that I've achieved tier 2 status for the K-pop goddess. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.